Hi everybody, this is Harmony with Harmony Stitches and welcome to my channel. Here we talk about my crafting journey, which usually revolves around cross stitch with some knitting and crochet thrown in. I have not crocheted for a while. Maybe it'll make an appearance sometime in the future. I do have a 2019 temperature blanket that is just over 50% completed, so maybe someday I'll get back to that. But for today, we're going to talk about what I've been cross-stitching and knitting this past week. So let's go ahead and get started talking about my progress. So the very first thing I'm going to talk to you about is my knitting. Last week, I finished my Protest is Patriotic flag scarf or shawlette. Because mine turned out a little bit smaller. I have not blocked it yet though. I have not started weaving in the end, so we'll see if it blocks out a little bit bigger than what it is now. And then I said my plans were to knit the baby Christmas sweater for family at church. I made Big Brother a Christmas sweater last year. So I said baby can't be left out. So after the video last week and I got it uploaded and everything, I did find my yarn. When I came up here, I found a couple skeins and I'm like, this isn't all of the yarn I had left over. So it took me a while to find it. I actually put it away and I just wasn't expecting that. I got two organizers, which sometimes over on this side, you'll see a little bit of the organizer. One of them and one's across the room. So I bought some organizers. There's 12 cubes in each one to put yarn in, and I just haven't gotten around to putting everything away. So the few things that I did put away, it just shocks me. So anyway, once I finally found all of the yarn, I was able to cast on. And Sunday night, I got through the neckband and half of the yoke increases, or the raglan increases, because the sleeves are raglan. And the rest pretty much flew, but Monday was a holiday, so I didn't have work, and I just progressively knit on it until I got it done. Now, when I got to the sleeves, I was being a little stubborn on how I was gonna, what needles I was gonna use to put the sleeves on, and I did not like the first sleeve, so I skipped that one, got the proper needles, put the second sleeve on, and then went back and picked up stitches so that way I could rip out the first sleeve and start over. But I did ultimately get this done, and I think you'll be proud of me because I even have all of the ends wove in. So without further ado, baby Christmas sweater. This is using Tincanknits Flax pattern. Tincanknits is famous for size inclusiveness, and this is 0 to 3 months. And they go up to like 4XL in adult. Now, what I will say, this pattern is very easy to follow. They give some great instructions. For most of their patterns, they do have tutorials in case you run into a section that you don't know how to do that technique or whatever. And they really cater to people learning how to knit. So I really do appreciate their work. I did, when I was almost all the way done with the body, I did realize that I never switched to bigger needles after I got done with the ribbing for the neckline. So this is a little bit smaller than what it's supposed to be. My husband said, are you ripping it out? And I said, absolutely not. There's a lot of stretch in this sweater. The baby is due to be born in December, so they're only going to wear it maybe one time, if that. This might be a novelty stitch because I don't know when baby's going to be born. I don't know when baby's due date is, except for the fact that it's supposed to be in December. Well, if baby is born on December 31st, this sweater is no good. And I didn't care enough to ask first before I made it because I felt that what if baby's due date is December 1st? Or just through December 24th, then this, which is most of the month, this sweater is a good option. So even if they're able to put baby in this one time, it was worth my work, effort, and supplies. So I'm very happy with it. It is very thick and squishy and it is thick because I used the wrong needles. And I do that often, I forget that you do the ribbing generally in a size or two smaller than you do the body. But it turned out okay. It's just a little bit narrow in the body. I didn't even check the sleeves, but I'm thinking for a newborn is going to be just fine. I used Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn in Red Hot and Kelly Green for this one. I did not do any fancy work like I did on the other one. On the first sweater, I did corrugated ribbing, which is basically knit in one color, purl in another color, and I was not going to do that. I did not like the transition to the body. Probably it's lack of knowledge and technique on my end, but because I'm still not good at it, I wanted to skip that part and just do it a little bit simpler, especially if baby's only going to wear this once. There was no need to make it super, super fancy. But that is good. And then I realized as I was finishing up that I made the other members of the family a hat. I think it's by Tincanknits. I believe it's called Easy Peasy. And it is a fairly easy hat to make. I'm going to check to see if they have a newborn size in that and probably knit that up sometime before I give that to them. I'll probably hold on to it until October or November before I gift it. Just because the current children in the family won't know, like, why are you giving it to us in September? So I'll probably hang on to it so I have plenty enough time to make a hat. I have plenty of yarn left over. I mean, as you can see, the only yarn that's missing out of this skein is the bottom hem, because I didn't know how much it was going to take, so I didn't want to use my scraps. I used this. And then I used my scraps on the cuffs of the sleeves, and I still have a bit of a ball left, but so that's almost a full skein of yarn. And then I have several skeins. I have one white and then several red and maybe another green one. So I have plenty. I have enough to probably make 2 child-sized sweaters. I just didn't know how much I was going to use for the first sweater, and it was on sale, so I just went crazy because I wanted to have enough and not have to go back and have dye lot issues. I know that they say that there's no dye lot issues these days because of technology and all, but no, I don't trust it. So that was my knitting for the week. I was hoping to be able to get to the sweater that I have to fix up, my colorwork sweater. I did not. I am feeling really good about where I'm at, and I'm really wanting to get that done. So I'm thinking that I will pick that up, or at least get started on doing research, trying to find out what needles I used. All of my yarn is right there, so I don't even have to hunt it down. But I need to figure out if I have notes or anything. I know I do not have a Ravelry page for that project, but maybe I'll start with grafting the underarms. Get the underarms grafted, get that done, because this one is bottom up. So you knit the bottom, you knit the sleeves, then you put them on. So you have to graft where the side of the sleeve matches up with the body. So if I get those grafted, that will be one step out of the way. I can get the other ends woven. I can kind of work myself up to the most difficult part, which is finding needles, ripping back, and doing the modification that was posted in the group. Okay, so I hope to do that this week. It will be a huge burden lifted off me, especially since the sweater sits over there and stares at me every single time I film a video. So, all right, on to cross stitch. The WIP wheel is back. It returned last week. Last week it spun Folk Art Christmas by Artecy. My goal was to finish the first banding and the bottom border. I didn't think I was going to get it, but I did. So, because we had family movie night last night, I did not pick up Lady of the Flag because this was more conducive to movie night. So I was able to finish the bottom border. That was all I had left. And then I was able to put 2 strands up in the next section, which is just a band that goes across, and it has some like bulbs, Christmas bulbs or something in it, some design. So I did that. So I am very happy with the progress. There's still a lot to go because this whole entire thing is filled up. But I want to speak to the person that measured and cut this fabric. Because as you can see, That person did not leave very much border on the top or the sides, and I'm a little disappointed. That person is me. I said that to my husband yesterday. He's like, well, who cut it? And I'm like, I cut it. I said, who else would cut it? He's like, I don't know where you get this stuff from. So I know I can make it work. I probably had a small piece and was trying to get all of my 12 Days of Christmas from last December on fabric that I had without having to purchase any. It is going to be a tight margin, but it will be okay. But as I was working, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I even going to have enough to get to the other side? So I made a point to get to the other side and be like, okay, it'll be fine. And then I got the rest of it stitched, which the reindeer on the left side went very quickly. It went a lot quicker than I thought it was going to go. And that's why I didn't think that I was going to get done, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I still have to do the top layer of the tree. And so the top layer, the tree took quite a bit, but I still had the top layer and the star and then the deer and this doodad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it. But the deer flew. It just flew off the needle. So I did it. I got it done. I got the border done last night. And then, like I said, this is just 2 strands right there in the top, the next band. So very happy with that progress. And this will go away until the wheel spins it next time. I am not hiding my slices on my wheel. Last time, there's a feature where after you spin, you can click the link to hide it. And that means then all the next times that you spin, it won't come up as an option. It hides it from the wheel. Now it's still there, and I have learned how to go back and toggle those things back on. So I was able to edit my wheel properly this time. And so I'm not hiding those, them. So it very well could come up next time. I don't know. I have no idea how often it's going to come up, but we'll see. But I know now that I can get quite a bit done, depending. That next band is solid, almost solid stitching the whole way across, but it's pretty good because it's color blocked, right? It's a banner. And that I can fly on color blocking. So, all right, so my WIP wheel this week, and I'll put the video in, landed on the Prairie Schooler, Where There Are Bees. And I know when I first started this, I kept saying the wrong title, but it's Where There Are Bees. And I'm doing my kitchen in bees. It took me a very long time to decide on a theme for the kitchen. And for some reason, this just clicked when I saw a couple bee patterns in cross stitch. And I said, oh my gosh, I can do that. And my family is totally on board, and they help me find items to help decorate and things like that. So this was fun. I did actually do the spin last night, so that way I can take a minute during commercials or whatever and dig the project out. And so I did dig it out last night. I got started this morning. I was going to take a before photo because it's been a while since you saw this one, but I forgot. But I will show you exactly what I've done. And then while I was working on it this morning, I looked at the pattern and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have very much left. And I do believe that I may be able to get a finish on this week. And that would be super exciting, that on the second week of the WIP wheel returning, I would get a finish. So let me show you. All right, so this is my progress so far on Where There Are Bees. Oh, I forgot to tell you that Folk Art Christmas is stitched on, I think, 18 count, maybe 16 count off-white Aida with called for floss, except for the red. I swapped it out. Anyway. Okay, this is 28 count off-white Monaco that I got. Most of this progress was done previous. So this pattern here, it was about 2/3 of the way done. I finished it this morning. This one over here, I started that this morning. That is the last hexagon that needs to be done, right? Hexagon, it's 6-sided. That's the last one that needs to be done. It has a bear and a beehive in it. The bear is eating the honey. And then up above it says, where there are bees, there is honey, and then the border. So that's pretty much what I have done here. I do have the little doodads on the side. So I am getting close. So what I usually do, if you're new here, I'm very frugal and I'm on a budget. So what I do is if I say I have 10 stitches, like I ran out of thread, I have to get a new thread and I have 10 stitches left, I will save the remainder because I know that there's going to be another time in the pattern that I'm going to need just a short piece of thread. So as I'm stitching, if I get scraps, what I call scraps, and I will set them aside and I will use them later. If I, sometimes, have you ever used a thread and come down and you're like, oh my gosh, I have just 2 stitches left and I can't possibly get 2 more stitches out of this thread? Yes, that's what I have my scraps for, because they're perfectly great pieces and I'm frugal and I save mine. If you don't, that's fine. I don't think poorly of you. Don't worry about it. But that's just how I work it. Now, at the end of the project, if I have any scraps, I tend to throw them away just because they get kind of ratty from being used a little bit. And then so I tend to throw them away at the end of the project. So what I will do is if I have any scraps, then I will go back to the little doodad areas and I will start working on those and get those knocked out, because for some reason, though, I don't want to leave them to the end because I feel that they're burdensome or tedious. Once you get done with the bulk of the pattern, then you just have like 3 color changes for like 15 stitches or whatever. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, really? So I am so close. Now, when I get the big piece done, it is going to stay on my wheel because it has the 2 ornament size blocks over here. The bee, and then the one with the flower and the teapot and the bee and the skep and the bird. So I like the bee one though. I'm going to leave it on the WIP wheel so that way I can get those done. Now, if I finish the big one before week's end, I will start one of the ornaments to get a head start. So this project will stay on the wheel until both ornaments and the big one is done. But I really do think I can make some great progress because the words take no time at all. I think I can be done with the hexagon. I'm looking at the pattern. I think I can be done with the bare hexagon. Maybe today. There's football today. Football season is back, guys. So I think I can get that done today. And then all I have to do is words and border and I can fly through that, I think. So we will see. So I'm super excited. So I did have to, now I'm going to be honest, when it spun that, I knew that I needed more floss. And I almost skipped it and spun again. And I said, oh my gosh, Harmony, I'm telling myself, stop being a baby. Look in the bag really quickly to see what you're missing and grab it today. And this was yesterday, Saturday. So it was a good thing that I spun it early to prepare myself. I was able to go to the cross stitch store, my local shop, and get the one skein that I needed. But it's a big need because it's the dark color. Now, it's used in all of the border. It's $37.87. Now, it's very, very overcast here in my area of Michigan today, so I do have to have my light on. There's like no light coming from the outside. So I don't know if you can see it, but this here was stitched with 2 different skeins of $37.87. One that I got when I kitted this up originally, and then one that I got yesterday. They are different. The first one is more of a green gray, and this one is more of a gray, the new one. And I'm not really happy about it. My husband said nobody's gonna know. I was actually thinking about maybe putting this one in the fair, but now that the skeins are different and I have a dye lot issue, hence my comment about the yarn, I'm not going to put this in the fair because it's clear that there's 2 different colors. So I don't want to get knocked down on points or whatever, or however they, the rubric of how they judge. based on that when it really wasn't my fault. I thought that I bought 2 skeins of the gray when I kitted this up, and I apparently didn't, or I accidentally put it in another project when I didn't mean to. But I would have no way of knowing what project that skein went to. You know, I don't know where it would be if I did buy it. So I bought another one. It's slightly different. It'll be fine. But the small projects, the ornaments, will have all of the same color. So maybe one of those will make it into the fair. Because I did notice that last year's classifications and this year's classifications were exactly the same. So if they do that again for next year, all of my plans that I had this year that I missed because I messed up the deadline in my mind, I will be able to reuse those ideas. So it is possible that I would be able to put one of the ornaments in if I were able to get that done before the fair next year. So the one skein that I needed was the only purchases that I made this week. I'm super excited to get started on all of the next projects. I'm super excited that this will be possibly getting a finish because, like I said, I haven't had a lot of finishes lately in cross stitch. So I'll be excited to get yet another one because I finished the bee a couple weeks ago and now I'll have this. And they're both bees for the kitchen. So, all right, so let's recap my plans, stitch on where there are bees, hopefully to get a finish and possibly a new start on the ornament size ones. The colorwork sweater to at least get the underarms grafted and all of the previous ends wove in. And then Lady the Flag is on the docket for this month for 841 stitches. And I really do think that Saturdays and Sundays are the best for that, but I'm not going to do it today, next weekend. Especially if I get a finish on where there are bees, then I will, even if I start the ornament, I'll be like, okay, I can set that aside now and I'm going to work on Lady the Flag. So it'll be good. But it is very warm up here again. It is not very hot outside except for humidity is high. We're supposed to get a rainstorm. So it's pretty miserable up here in the room with no circulation. So I'm going to go back downstairs with the AC now. So I hope that watching this week, you've had some inspiration to maybe pick up a languishing WIP or maybe try something new. And I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, for commenting. I do appreciate everyone taking some time out of their busy day to hang out with me while I talk to you about my crafting. So until next Sunday, bye.